District Attorney Sandra Doorley, Sheriff Todd Baxter, Judge Alex Renzi of New York State Supreme Court, Paul C. my son James C. Jr. on Penfield Town Court. My name is Chris Chichester. This is the Freedom of Information Law. There are 44 in here. I'm going to read every one. It's attached in PDF. 44. The number you will comply with is 0. Now, when I use the phrase for Psychopaths Incorporated, which is all of you, surveillance device, that's it. Is that not a surveillance device, Todd Baxter? Is this private technology that you used upon me at 2025 Penfield Road, or did you buy it and affix it for me and tell me the answer? When I held up my phone, and the last time I was on YouTube, I was looking at my phone, and I don't believe I made the conclusion that you could not see it. And it's attached in the PDF documents. That's a surveillance device. Any employees at the Central Intelligence Agency will tell you, Sheriff Todd K. Baxter, you buffoon, stooge, party switcher, and skinhead, that's a surveillance device. Now, Todd Baxter, when I cite the parking lot, that's it right there. That every employee of the district attorney's office can walk through without a warrant for arrest. That every employee at the sheriff's office can walk through without a warrant for the arrest. You, Paul C. Metzer, and you, James C. Jr., can walk down Bad Road to Penfield Road. That'll take about 5 minutes. From Penfield Road to where I used to live, that'll take about 5 minutes. Walk through this park lot and go to Wegmans or Target, Kansas. You're not going to be arrested. Why is that? Are you a different kind of American than me? Paul C. Metzer and James C. Jr. The answer is yes. And in this picture, if you can see it, there's 2 of my neighbors in there. The other reason why I'm holding this up, as I've said now for 18 months, I'm charged with criminal contempt second by $67,000 cop from House Shannon Meyer, the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, for walking outside here, standing right here in this concrete next to this grass, telling Steve Desmond of Brock-Cola Tree in Long Term no one owns that land, and walk back in my residence. That's not a crime, Todd Baxter. Have you done what I told you to do, you skinhead? Call Shannon Meyer into your office, ask her 2 things. Why did you write a warrant for the arrest of Christopher Chichester for a walk through this park lot that he's walked through 4,000 times, but not anybody else in Pemberton, New York, or Monroe County? And why did you tell Steve Desmond of Brock-Cola Tree and Lawn Care to ride his tractor by his residence to get him to come out of the house to arrest him for criminal contempt second? Because the problem with that, Todd, is for me to walk outside, stand right here, say nobody owns that land, and walk back on residence, that's not a crime. And I called Timothy Murphy of the Monroe County Office Real Property Tax Service. I asked him if Layla Kumar and Nayraj Shah, 50-year-old man who lives with his 70-year-old mother, own this land, and he can't confirm, and he hung up on me. And they don't have the documentation. This land has no ownership. And you're coming to my residence to demand my dog? I'm walking my dog behind that residence. I don't know if you can see him, that I adopted from Lollipop Farm Humane Society, where I walk next to those trees with him to the back of the residence. One day, the back window from this repulsive shack, the Shaw Law Firm, flies open. A woman is screaming at me. I don't know why she's screaming at me. I bring my little guy in. I walk through the parking lot to the Shaw Law Firm, which used to be the office of my dentist, Dr. Gloria Nichols, to ask this woman why she's screaming at me. She refuses to talk to me. I immediately leave. And then less than an hour later, your Benito Mussolini clones, Sheriff Todd K. Baxter, are at my residence demanding my dog. One phone call, and you're at my residence demanding my little guy. Do you not know, Todd Baxter, that American citizens love their dogs with such a perfection in the tens of millions that there is not one single citizen that is a dog owner that's going to surrender the dogs to the fanatical cops because the fanatical cops demand it? Your employees are so alienated in the blue wall of silence from how ordinary Americans live their lives, and ordinary citizens in Monroe County. You don't even know. It doesn't even occur to your fellow sociopaths that there's no way they're getting a dog if they show up to the dog owner's home. I had to pass a background check at Lollipop Farm Humane Society when I went there with my ex-girlfriend in 2012, Laura Riley. And one of the questions we're asked is, have you ever been arrested? If that answer is yes, in all likelihood, our application is rejected. I was 47 years old. He would jump up in the bed at night, and Laura would say, get down. And I would laugh. And then we'd go back to sleep at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'd wake up and he'd be sleeping on my foot. And I have another 500 boring dog stories that will be boring to everyone except for me. And this is why people love their dogs. When I would wake up in the morning, he'd be sleeping on my foot, I would laugh. Dog owners have these stories because of the way people love their dogs. You're showing up to my residence, you skinhead, stooge, and party switcher demanding my dog. Do your employees think I'm just going to surrender my dog? And my friend Adam watched this happen. And my other neighbors. My neighbor came across the street. Your employees were yelling at my front door, just like your employee I'm going to get to be screaming in my backyard on another occasion. Do you tell your employees to cut loose and scream and yell at the private residence of citizens? You skinhead, stooge, and party switcher and psychopath? After your employees came to demand my little guy, she came right over to me and said, I saw that. The houses are close together where I used to live on Sanders Farm Drive. And neighbor after neighbor would see your psychopaths coming to my residence, showing up to demand my little guy. When we went to Lollipop Farm, he was in this area where there was a cage, and he was looking up, and my then girlfriend, Laura Riley, said to me, he's looking right at you. I will always remember that. People love their dogs with every fiber of their being because that's the way it's supposed to be. And I'm nothing special. It is ordinary and normal to love your dog. What is wrong with you at that fanatical and fascist Monroe County Sheriff's Office? The complaints for attorneys in the state of New York in Monroe County are handled by the Attorney Disciplinary Grievance Committee. And in Monroe County, the 4th Judicial Department Attorney Grievance Committee is responsible for Cayuga, Livingston, Monroe, Ontario, Seneca, Steuben, Wayne, and Yates. Grievance Committee for the 7th Judicial District Attorney Grievance Committee. Your prosecutors silence, you party-switching diva from hell, Sandra Doorley, that have never talked in court for me as I've been in jail 6 times. I will contact this grievance committee here because I seek to disbar every single one of my prosecutors assigned to my concocted criminal charges. And this is where I believe it can begin. I don't know the full process yet to disbar an attorney. And I'll pursue your disbarment, Sandra Doorley. And if you think that what I just said is a fantasy land, then you live in a fantasy land. I will seek your disbarment, Sandra Doorley. So, that's a surveillance device, Todd Baxter. I'm showing it. I've showed it repeatedly. Corruption requires repetition. How is this possibly explained? When I came outside and told Steve Desmond that nobody owns the land next to my residence, you put the handcuffs on me and took me to a holding cell at Monroe County Jail. I'm in there, urinated on myself. I'm handcuffed inside where I couldn't reach the urinal. And that's when your employee came to me, and he had a phone just like this phone. And he showed me on his phone. The reason why I'm showing this phone is that's the Verrazano Bridge. And before I get to the Freedom of Information laws, there's a reason why I'm showing this Verrazano Bridge. Mother and father from Brooklyn. And when I enlisted in the Army in June 1985, I had to go to Fort Hamilton. This is Brooklyn, Staten Island sizes of the Verrazano. So, reason why I show that is when I'm evicted by my psychopath landlords, and I do not know if it's my dead landlord, Giuseppe Spano, or his father, Antonino Spano, who evicted me. I had to get him a copy of my DD-214. This is why I cite this. It's not for narcissism. Everything I own is gone because of what began with cop from hell, Shannon Myers, and her $67,000 salary, and then continued with $79,000 Andrew Reale, $85,000 Don Benedetto, $91,000 Lee LaRoque. So, place of entry into active duty, Brooklyn, New York. This is a copy. I no longer have the original. That's why I'm showing this. When I show something, it's directly connected to what you have done to me. And what you have done to me Todd, Baxter, Sandra, Doorley, Paul, C. Metro, James Family, June, Alex, Renzi, destroy my life. Where I have a copy of my DD 214. What is wrong with you at the sheriff's office and district attorney's office? My 50th birthday on July 4, 2015, I got 2 speeding tickets in Albany and Washington, D.C. I have always known what constitutes a criminal act. And your contempt for the law is astounding and stunning and sickening. See these cards here? They came back to me again. They're on a table in front of me, not the most latest cards, but over and over. This is what comes back to me. That's my name on the back. This comes back to me. And I went to UPS and today, but this is the latest here I'm looking at. This is December 8th. This arrived yesterday. So you sign for everything I'm going to read in this Freedom of Information law here on this December 10th, which is attached in PDF. There are new ones that I added from when I sent you this, which I will cite to you. And there are ones that I've been demanding for 18 months, for 24 months, and I'll cite that too. The law is a joke to you. It doesn't get any simpler than that. The law is a joke to you. Those 7 words. It's the law right here, and you use documentation just like this. Documentation, sheriff's office, district attorney's office, to demand information. I'm demanding information from you, and you're refusing. So I went to UPS today, but I couldn't get everything done in a lot of time. But here it is. I should have a receipt like this in my hand, and I didn't get it because, like I said, it's only so much time in a day. But this is what I'm going to read, except where I otherwise know. October 17th, you got it, which is attached in PDF with this date today. This is October 31st. How long ago was that, Sandra Doorley? Given the radical decline of your health, sweetheart, do you know how long ago that was? The Halloween? You know, your employees at the district attorney's and sheriff's office have a great Halloween outfit every year. You just go as yourselves. November 29th. What I'm going to read, you received on November 29th, just 2 weeks ago at UPS. Better send me a list of defendants in Penfield Town Court, Paul C. Metro and James Family Jr., and the documentation for Dan Glaus III. This is December 5th for UPS. There's other ones in here, but I want to get to the United States Postal Service. It's tracking everything I'm going to read except where I otherwise know. I've read this the other day, last time here. This is November 1st, October 28th, October 26th, October 24th, October 14th, September 29th, September 27th, September 26th. And here again is UPS with the United States Postal Service that I commingled here. This is UPS on October 30th. This is UPS on November 23rd. And again, back to the United States Postal Service on November 3rd. So here is, which I sent to you on December 8th. Right here. What I'm going to read, you received on December 8th. I put it in PDF and I sent it to you. And here it is on December 10th, where there were 44 in here, and you're going to be 0 for 44. Destruction of a life. I'm in this loft. This is a sublet agreement for this loft, where it ends on February 27, 2023, and I'm going to go back to either Albany or Washington, D.C., where I can be employed, and I will be employed there. So, where I'm in here, where I have nothing, I'm not going to show that picture where it's just me and the television, the couch, and a few other things, because my landlords took all my things to a storage locker when I was in jail with the assistance of my ex-girlfriend, Laura Riley, and everything I own is gone. I'm going to have to write a criminal complaint. I'll go into detail about what happened to me, because I don't know if it's the dead son, Giuseppe Spano, or his father, Antonino Spano, that did this to me. But my ex-girlfriend is involved in it. She's refused to tell me what the facts and circumstances are of me now owning nothing because she's involved. I have known her since January 4th, 1986. Law Riley, Webster, New York. But I'm not confident that she still lives in Webster, where we both used to live. This is what you've done to me, Todd Baxter and Sandra Doorley. I will write a criminal complaint. I don't have any hesitation about doing this because she simply refused to tell me what happened. It takes a court order to remove all the personal belongings of a tenant for an eviction. There is no court order. There's nothing. They locked me out. That takes a court order. They locked the doors. Everything I've been told by the Tenant Defense Project in Rochester, my ex-girlfriend's right in the middle of a criminal act, which I've told her repeatedly. And I don't know if she's signed for a mail. I got my mail coming back to me from her. I don't know if she doesn't live at her address in Webster. She's refusing to sign for it. I don't know. But she's involved in what's happened to me. And she's involved in what's happened to me because of you, Todd Baxter, and you, Sandra Doorley. So this is my new landlord here, who's half my age. She's really nice, but I'm only going to be here until February 27, 2023. And I'm grateful I'm here. Sublet. I'm holding this piece of paper. And I have a landlord that's half my age. Because this piece of paper is the validation of the destruction of my life. Because you, Todd Baxter, and you, Sandra Doorley. Chris Chichester, go fuck yourself. This is from Penfield Town Court. Can you see right there? Well, I'm demanding a list of defendants. That's not a list of defendants. You $28,000 bald-headed widow, Paul C. Metzler. It's not a list of defendants. James P. Jr., who releases violent criminal Jermaine Ben, who snaps my head back at a gym, and I'm charged with harassment second, sitting in the backseat of $79,000 Angel Realities. Monroe County Sheriff's Office vehicle. When I contact the United States Department of Justice and Attorney General Merrick Garland and the other employees at the Department of Justice, are you going to refuse James P. Jr. and Paul C. Metzler to send a list of defendants to the Department of Justice? And I believe you would. Because you're drenched in corruption. And what I'm going to get to, I want the, quote, defective, end quote, documents that John P. Lomenzo Jr. cited in Penfield Town Court when he released Daniel Glass III. I don't think we have any files or filing system or any professional way to account for documents in that nauseating little room. Did you notice, James P. Jr. and Paul C. Metzler, that there's not a jury of 12, there's not a witness box for testimony, there's not a table for a defense attorney to defend, there's not a table for a prosecutor. It's just you, and it's an assembly line of guilt. Every single defendant is guilty in Penfield Town Court. You don't know how to acquit Paul C. Metzler, James P. Jr., and John P. Lomenzo Jr. before you, two hacks. Because it's so easy just to declare someone guilty. It takes thought and morality and ethics to evaluate facts and circumstances, and also to understand that the Monroe County Sheriff's Office is a collection of fanatics and sociopaths. And the fanatic and the sociopath, above all others, Todd K. Baxter, refuses to disclose information to me, and that's why he's a fanatic and a sociopath. So, I will pause, tell you what I think about some of these, but most importantly, I'll pause to tell you when it's the first time it's something new that you refuse. And I will pause if I can recall, because I believe in accuracy, how long I've been demanding this that you refuse for. This I began to send you. The first one is financial disclosure, and this is general language. 2, I have not yet looked up the part of New York State or federal law that forces you, Todd Baxter, Sandra Doorley, Paul C. Metzler, James P. Jr., and Alex Renzi, to send me your financial disclosure, which I will send to the media in Monroe County and New York State Controller Thomas P. DiNapoli. Where are your conflicts of interests? I don't know if you have conflicts of interest. And I don't believe in speculation. I'm demanding a financial disclosure because you're the most powerful individual, Sandra Doorley and Todd Baxter in Monroe County. And where's your money? And I'm demanding your financial disclosure, Alex Renzi, Paul C. Metzler, and James P. Jr., because you destroy lives. And perhaps you can be removed from your respective courts based on your finances. So, send me personal disclosure. I'm going to say where to send it over and over. 620 Park Avenue, PMB number 361, Rochester, New York. 14614. is there some type of confusion about one of the demanding here with financial disclosure? Because there's going to be some type of confusion about every single one, because you're drenched in corruption. Personal financial disclosure of Sheriff Todd K. Baxter. I will change this to cite the exact part, language of state or federal law, and you'll still refuse. The personal financial disclosure of District Attorney Sandra Doorley. The personal financial disclosure of New York State Supreme Court Supervising Judge, Justice Court, 7th Judicial District, that is Alex R. Renzi. The personal financial disclosure of Penfield Town Judge Paul C. Metzler. Personal financial disclosure of Penfield Town Judge James Miller Jr. Now, this is what I have been demanding. These first two about your internal disciplinary records, I've been demanding for 6 weeks or 8 weeks over and over. You just received this. What I'm going to read to you, you received on December 8th. The card should be in this box here at Park Avenue. And I have return receipt, hard copy, return receipt, electronic check. So everything I'm going to read, you received on the 8th. Sheriff Todd K. Baxter, District Attorney Sandra Doorley, Alex Renzi, New York State Supreme Court, Paul C. Metzler in Penfield Town Court, James Miller Jr. in Penfield Town Court, Regina Harper and Mark Phillips at the Public Defender's Office. And you'll see me again, Regina and Mark. Not just walking down East Main Street or somewhere else in Rochester or Monroe County, because I'll be in handcuffs again, because Psychopaths Incorporated can't control themselves. That's the District Attorney's Office, Sheriff's Office. Freedom of Information Law. The internal disciplinary records of documentation for employees at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Todd K. Baxter, that Sheriff Todd K. Baxter is reprimanded, terminated, or disciplined employment at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. As you're a veteran, Todd Baxter, have you ever been inside a courts-martial? Because I have, as the recorder. Do you know what an Article 15 is? The answer is yes, because every soldier knows what it is. That's the most common form of punishment. Do you have anything that's the equivalent of an Article 15 where you can punish an employee that violates civil and constitutional rights of an innocent citizen or does something that you make a determination that violates their rights, or you just want to discipline someone for doing stupid things? You can discipline someone for anything that's stupid or illegal or criminal, such as firing that person. So, Todd Baxter, this language is as plain as it can be. What's the disciplinary process at the Sheriff's Office? And you refuse to answer. Same thing with the District Attorney. Should you fire or discipline an assistant district attorney who doesn't talk in court as that defendant in a courtroom is delivered to jail? The answer is yes. I've been in jail 6 times. There's not one syllable, not one sound, not one sentence from your prosecutors of silence that are assigned to my concocted charges and my court appearances that you refuse to disclose the names of, which I'm going to get to and arrive at. So even though I'm telling you right now on this YouTube that you will refuse, when you receive it and read it, as you already have, you'll still refuse. Why? Because you're corrupt. The internal disciplinary record documentation for employees of the Monroe County District Attorney's Office, District Attorney Sandra Doorley, that District Attorney Sandra Doorley has disciplined, reprimanded, terminated from employment at the Monroe County District Attorney's Office. And I will contact the 4th Judicial Department Attorney Grievance Committee for the 7th Judicial District Attorney Grievance Committee, 50 East Avenue, Suite 404, Rochester, New York, 14604-2206. I'll send them registered mail return receipt, my complaints, and every document that I've sent to you thus far, registered mail return receipt. When I say every document, such as the accusatory instrument for me to walk through the parking lot where I responded to every sentence by Shannon Meyer, which is not a crime. But I hope to go over there too, to East Avenue. Name, salary of every public employee at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, Todd Baxter. So, this I just started demanding of you. I'm not asking. I think it's the second time here, because an employee, especially at a sheriff's office, that gets to the point of 25 years and 30 years, and if that employee is 55 or 60 years old, can no longer function at the highest professional level. And I believe you, Todd Baxter, Keep your employees around for 25, 30 years, even 40 years. And when I say 40 years, the man that I saw my last time in Monroe County Jail, when I went down to a basement area to exercise in a large room, he's in the vicinity of 70 years of age, and I believe you know exactly what I'm talking about, as I said in my previous YouTube. Freedom of Information Law. A list of every public employee at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office by length of employment years, the day, month, and year the employee is hired. And you refuse, of course. I believe the employee I saw at Monroe County Jail in his uniform would be the first name on the list. Should someone be forcibly retired at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office at the age of 62, Todd Baxter? I would love to hear your answer if you're asked that by WHEC or the Democrat and Chronicle. And I believe it's going to be usual, incoherent, stumbling buffoonery. Because there's no way you're going to say no. When the answer is absolutely yes, that you should forcibly retire employees at 62. And you don't do that because I know for a fact, there's no doubt about it, this employee I saw is above the age of 62. And how many other employees do you have that have surpassed what is now the generally accepted age to retire in the United States of America? Freedom of Information Law. The name and salaries of every public employee at the Monroe County District Attorney's Office, District Attorney Sandra Doorley. It's as basic as it gets. Do you hire employees from different offices such as Albany County or Schenectady County or Rensselaer County or Suffolk County or Nassau County or even New York City and then bring them into your offices with a higher pay than employees that have been there for 5 years? I bet you that would really damage morale. And I believe that you do this because you're a feckless, incompetent Sandra Doorley. And I don't even think you even give a damn about your own employees. And I know it's a strong thing to say. Do you hire employees from other jurisdictions and counties in the state of New York and then pay that employee more money than your assistant district attorneys that have been there for 5 years? That's why I say you don't give a damn about your employees, because length of service really truly matters. And if you're importing somebody from Erie County to work in Monroe County, paying that person more money, that really is a total disgrace. And, I'll never know. You will not answer that question. And that's understandable how you will not answer that question. But it's not understandable for your own employees. There are things that I'm demanding of you where if you refuse to answer, I do get it. I just want to see if you answer. And then there are, which is 95% of these, where you refuse to answer, the absolute disgrace, and I'm demanding you answer. If you hire someone from a different jurisdiction or county you don't want to answer, then I'm not going to pursue that. You know what I'm doing to you at that Tulsa Attorney's Office, Sheriff's Office? Because you need the attention of the United States Department of Justice. Freedom of Information, a list of every public employee at the Monroe County District Attorney's Office by length of employment years, the day, month, and year the employee is hired. Do you have employees at the District Attorney's Office, either the Assistant District Attorney, investigators, civilians that never appear in court, don't do investigations, that have been there for 30 years? I don't know. You do. So tell me the answer, Sandra Doorley. Employees in the United States of America abuse overtime. When I worked as a public employee in Albany for the governor majority leader, in Washington, D.C. for Congressman Morris Smith, Senator Lee Snow, there was no overtime. The salary was it. If I worked 60 hours, and I would, I'm not getting one penny more than the salary I agreed upon when I was hired. There is overtime at the Sheriff's Office. I'm absolutely convinced. I'm not convinced about the District Attorney's Office. But tell me the answer. I've been demanding this for 18 months. 18 plus months. Do you have a list, Todd Baxter and Sandra Doorley, of your top 10 overtime earners? Do you have someone that exists at $65,000? I believe that employee can double salary to $130,000 with overtime. What's the answer? This is what I'm going to tell Thomas P. DiNapoli, the Controller of the State of New York, when I contact him to audit you, in that you're refusing to disclose how you calculate overtime or time and a half to pay employee beyond a 40th hour. Freedom of Information. The total cost of overtime, a time and a half, well paid beyond a base salary is calculated at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Todd K. Baxter. Freedom of Information Law. Total cost of overtime, time and a half, well paid beyond a base salary is calculated at the Monroe County District Attorney's Office, District Attorney Sandra Doorley. I believe that the most notorious trial in Monroe County was the murder of Craig Rideout by Laura Rideout and Paul Tucci. And she was convicted. And that really is a heroic performance by your office. Sandra Doorley, because what happened to Craig Rideout is an abomination. And I used to, when I would go into Fairport to Gold's Gym, I would walk by a town housing area where he used to live. I believe that this is where he spent the final months and weeks and days of his life, from what I read in the Democratic Chronicle. And your employees convicted him and her, Laura Rideout and Paul Tucci. Well, I don't believe that during that trial, that's just a standard 40-hour week. And it's understandable if during that trial, your employees were working 80-hour weeks to convict these two cretins. So Sandra Doorley, the total cost of overtime time and a half, while paid beyond a base salary is calculated to Monmouth County District Attorney's Office, District Attorney Sandra Doorley. If I repeat certain things, then I repeat certain things. This is new. When I worked in Albany, I got there in 1991 when I was 26 years old, and I worked in the press office for Senate Majority Leader Ralph Marino. And there was an older woman in the office who, in the first 2 weeks, I think she called in twice where she couldn't make it into the office. And I answered the phone. I thought, that's really odd. She's twice in 2 weeks. And so I didn't know why she couldn't make it into the office. Perhaps it was some real health matter. And then there were employees, as time went on, and I was there for 7 years from Majority Leader and Governor, where I would go out in the Capitol. There were bars. It really used to be. It's not this way anymore from what I understand, from what I'm told. Where you would go out, and I would frequently see Assembly staff, Senate staff, staff for the governor, and people were drinking and partying and having a good time. So you go to a fundraiser, and then you go to a bar, and then I would see the next day my colleagues who I was out with weren't coming into the office, and then the other I would be told by my colleague, or I'd be informed, well, I didn't come in because of the night before. So sick days happen every day in the United States of America because an employee went out the night before and was drinking and partying and carousing. And then sick days occur because the employee is legitimately sick. And then sick days occur when the employee's not drinking and carousing, not legitimately sick, and the employee doesn't want to go into the office. Any number of reasons, 500 reasons, 1,000 reasons, 10,000 reasons, why an employee picks up the phone, calls into work, can't make it. I don't care about the fact, circumstance, and I'll never know the fact, circumstance. What I demand is the number of sick days for your employees, Todd Baxter, Sandra Doorley. Freedom of Information Law, the total number of sick days and the number of hours employees at the Monmouth County Sheriff's Office of Sheriff Todd K. Baxter have accumulated by the number of sick days, the number of hours. Do you keep track? Do you calculate the number of sick days for somebody that's calling in? Because you should. And this is what I'm going to tell Thomas P. DiNapoli. You refuse to answer me. I'm not on some kind of delusion that I'm using freedom of information law. I'm saying this is going to arrive at your office and you're going to comply and tell me. You won't. But this is new. And I was thinking about one of my employees in Washington, D.C. that I used to work with. And I would see this particular person at a bar called Bull Feathers. And there were times where I had to drag my ass out of bed. And it was difficult. But I was thinking about this one particular person I knew. And this particular person at Bull Feathers, not at the office the next day. And I would say, is it because of what we were doing the night before? And the answer is yes. This happens in every state, in every county. Is it happening at the sheriff's office? And is it happening here at 47 South Fitzhugh? The total number of sick days and total number of hours employees at the Monmouth County District Attorney's Office of District Attorney Sandra Doorley have accumulated by the number of sick days, the number of hours. There's legitimate reasons for an employee to pick up the phone and not be in the office because that employee is sick or ill. And then there's the lie. An employee that has not been diagnosed with anything, that has sick day after sick day, 20 sick days, 30 sick days. There's something going on with that employee. And that employee's fleecing taxpayers. You fleecing taxpayers with sick days. The Queen, Sandra Doorley. I've demanded this over and over. The one I just read, that's the first time I read this. I've demanded this for 18 months. Is there sexual harassment at the Sheriff's Office, District Attorney's Office? The cost of taxpayers of Monmouth County Sheriff Todd K. Baxter suspended taxpayer dollars set employment-related discrimination lawsuits failed to comply with Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The cost of taxpayers of Monmouth County District Attorney Sandra Doorley expended taxpayer dollars set employment-related discrimination lawsuits fair to apply with Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. This is the first time I wrote this about violence at Monroe County Jail, because I've been attacked at Monroe County Jail and I've seen violence. And are you reporting violent criminal acts at the jail to the district attorney's office or the Commission on Correction or another jurisdiction? Because I believe the answer is no. You want to cover it up. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist when I say that. I believe that there were violent acts, violent crimes at Monroe County Jail, and you, Todd Baxter, don't report those violent criminal acts. Freedom of Information Law. The number of criminal acts or criminal actions where an inmate appeared in court for a criminal charge where that criminal act or charge occurred at Monroe County Jail from January 22 to December 10, 2022. Now, I believe that there are violent crimes at Monroe County Jail because it happened to me. Your employee attacked me in Monroe County Jail. That employee is not going to be charged with a crime. I've been attacked by an inmate in Monroe County Jail. The inmate wasn't charged with a crime. So, it couldn't be any more clear. Read this, print this out, and read it, and tell me the answer. This is what I'm going to send to the Commission on Correction in Albany and have the Commission tell you to answer this about the status of violence at Monroe County Jail, where there's either inmate on inmate criminal acts or inmate on employee criminal acts or employee on inmate criminal acts. There's any number of ways it's going to happen. Those are the three ways. What's the answer, Todd Baxter? Please exist in that stone cold silence of corruption. This is for you, Sandra. It's the first time I wrote this, and this is what I'm going to send to. What I'm going to read. I will send this registered mail return receipt to the 4th Judicial Department Attorney Grievance Committee, which is at 50 East Avenue, Suite 404, Rochester, New York. The number of complaints written or filed by defendants about attorneys or employees at the Monroe County District Attorney's Office, District Attorney Sandra Doorley, with the 4th Judicial Department Attorney Grievance Committee. The reason why I write this, I believe that there are defendants and citizens in Monroe County just like me where they're thinking, what is going on with that corrupt district attorney's office? How am I in jail when a prosecutor is on court? And they're demanding the names of their prosecutors. If you can eject yourself from corruption and fanaticism, Sandra Doorley, and disclose the names of my prosecutors of silence, this is who I'm going to go to about my prosecutors of silence. This is the second time I'm demanding this, which I talked about previously. I'm not going to do it again. What is the basic marksmanship requirement for employees at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Todd Baxter? This is the lunatic fringe right here. This is the high-resolution photo. If I could get this without it clicking off. There it is right there. Can you see it? I need to hold my phone so the glare is not up on the screen. Is that not a surveillance device, Todd Baxter? Because that's a surveillance device. Let me hold it up again. Did you buy it and affix it for me with tax dollars, or is it private technology? And Christina Harper showed me the images. Think about the best possible lie. Exists in that George Orwell 1984 denial and delusion. The cost of a surveillance device purchased with taxpayer dollars by Monroe County Sheriff Todd Baxter and affixed to a building at 2025 Penfield Road to monitor if Christopher Chichester, 26 Sanders Farm Drive, walks through the parking lot next to the building, and that's the lunatic fringe. And here it is. What I just showed clearly. When you look at this, when it arrives, you'll be able to see it. I don't think you can see it here as I hold it up. But the clear photograph I just showed, this is it. When you look at it, you can see it. 18 months I'm demanding this. The cost of buffoonery and stoogism. Is Mo, Larry, and Curly in this picture? The cost for a photography session approved by Monroe County Sheriff Todd Baxter to photograph 10 Monroe County Sheriff Office employees underwater in a pool. I'm really trying not to laugh. I've ridiculed this before and I've laughed. But this is a disgrace. And what the hell is this thing you got right here? What is that? And what is this equipment down here? Do you have a dive team? Are these your employees for a dive team? Because criminals will dispose of evidence in water. But why are they taking a picture of themselves? Are these all Monroe County Sheriff Office employees? What's the American flag doing in the background? Somebody jumped into the pool from the Monroe County Sheriff's Office and decided to fix the flag? How much did you pay for this? Did you pay nothing and it's a private end? You could pay for this with campaign dollars. Your employees, they want to go out and have a good time and just post to your Facebook page. But I've been demanding this for 18 months. You haven't told me that. I don't care if it's a private event. What I'm demanding is taxpayer dollars involved in funding this. This costs money. Did you expend taxpayer dollars to take this photograph? And where's the pool? Freedom of Information Law. The cost of a hotel and plane ticket for Monroe County Sheriff's Office employee Ryan Fisher to attend the Super Bowl in Atlanta, Georgia on February 3rd, 2019. Here he is right here. That's your employee. I don't know what he's paid because everything on him is gone, which includes the payroll. I would cite his salary if I still had payroll. You're tweeting about it. Ridiculous. Stay off Jack Dorsey's Twitter. Stay off Elon Musk's Twitter when you're sending employees on a junket. I read that repeatedly, that tweet. That's why I'm not going to read that again. This is the state flag of New York, this beautiful flag where justice is blind. It's justice blind for me, Sandra, and Todd, Baxter. This is the delusion. They didn't change this until 2003. And it says here, state of Georgia, wisdom, justice, and moderation. This hate symbol where Ryan Fisher is in Georgia, where they did not change this hate symbol until 2003, it says right next to it, wisdom, justice, and moderation. Here he is here. If you're going to send your employees on a junket and then refuse to tell me how much was the cost of a plane ticket, how much the cost of the hotel room, don't go to the media. This is new about him. Freedom of Information Law. Documentation or voucher or other authorization signed by Sheriff Todd K. Baxter to purchase an airline ticket and hotel room for Monroe County Sheriff's Office employee Ryan Fisher to travel to Atlanta, Georgia. I just started demanding this with different language as far as running push-ups and sit-ups. In the Army, this PT test, the old one, 100 points, 300 points was perfect. You've taken the old one, Todd Baxter. I believe that 75% of Monroe County Sheriff Office employees would not be able to pass the old one, which is easier than the new one. And then you were flagged. You could not travel, you could not get promoted, and you could not receive an award if you failed the PT test. So, you're placing the lives of Monroe County Sheriff Office employees at risk when you don't demand physical fitness, Todd Baxter. What are the physical training standards and requirements at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Todd K. Baxter? And if there is a standard requirement, does it include running, push-ups, and sit-ups? On the PT test in the Army, when it is given, the soldier giving it to you, usually an E7 or E8 or a captain or a major, will look at you to make sure you do the push-up and go all the way down, because there are guys that will fake it, especially the push-ups. It's easier to fake the push-up than the sit-ups. You have to make the complete rotation to come up from the sit-up. And you can't fake the run either. The time is the time. I've seen this done, but guys are trying to fake a push-up. So do you have a PT test, and is it done to guarantee that the soldier is in the minimum physical condition? The answer is no. This is new. When I'm violently attacked at Wegmans, when I'm walking into Gold's Gym, your 5 vehicles and 10 fellow psychopaths, Todd Baxter, arrived at me once at the pharmacy entrance. One of them ran at me, lowered his shoulder, knocked me down. My head slammed down on the concrete pavement, and he briefly sat at me. I've said this repeatedly on YouTube, and I believe I sent it to you in my writing. So, I don't know if I have an arresting officer, because if I had an arresting officer, when I'm violently attacked by a fellow psychopath, my head slams down on the concrete at the pharmacy entrance to Wegmans, and there were 10 witnesses, including your female employee with the Marine-style haircut and buzz cut and tattoos, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. I've seen her previously and said to her, you saw me attack. Then the arresting officer is responsible for violence committed by your employees during an arrest. Ask your female employee with the Marine-style haircut and tattoos about me being violently attacked at Wegmans. I said to her when I was in the backseat of the vehicle, when I subsequently saw her, when I was arrested for double jeopardy in Penford Road. I'm in the backseat. I said, you saw me violently attacked at Wegmans, and you didn't say anything. She just continued to drive, didn't say anything with me and her in that car. I've demanded this over and over. The name in charge of every inmate of Monroe County Sheriff Todd K. Baxter's Monroe County Jail from January 1, 2018 to December 10, 2022, which is today. as you're a Democrat, Todd Baxter, and as you're a Democrat, Sandra Doorley, you have to appeal to a certain demographic in the Democratic Party in order to maintain your standing. So, there is something called affirmative action. And I demand to know if you're engaged in the practice of affirmative action at the Sheriff's Office, District Attorney's Office. Do you, Sheriff Todd K. Baxter, hire employees at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office based on race or gender? Do you, District Attorney Sandra Doorley, hire employees at the Monroe County District Attorney's Office based on race or gender? This is where you're lucky the Democrat Chronicle is a joke and the local media is a joke. This question should be asked of you repeatedly. And if you are asked this question directly, what it's going to be is bumbling, incoherence, and evasiveness. Because to answer yes is going to enrage a significant part of your base that you need to be reelected or in order to maintain political support. And if the answer is no, then that's going to enrage a significant part of your base in order to maintain political support. Give me these names, Sandra Doorley. I will tell the United States Department of Justice I've been on here relentlessly for 18 months demanding the names of prosecutors assigned to my concocted criminal charges, my fiction, my lies, and you're refusing to disclose the names. Why? Because you're corrupt, because you're a psychopath, because you're drenched in lies and hatred. Documentation for the case for Christopher Chávez for John P. Lomenzo Jr. in Pembroke Town Court. What is the name of the prosecutor, Sandra Doorley? Is this Julie Hahn, who's now in Monroe County Court? I don't know, because you're refusing to disclose the name. Documentation for the case for Christopher Chávez for Paul C. Metz in Pembroke Town Court. What is the name of the prosecutor, Sandra Doorley? This is the 5'2" 3-piece suit boy that Regina Harper said to me the prosecutor was not backing down. When there's no effort whatsoever from him to interview me about why I'm in court. And as I said previously, do you think it's unethical for your attorneys to call defendants that are going to appear in court to ask them what has happened and get facts and circumstances? Because it is not unethical. Documentation for the case for Christopher Chávez in New York State Supreme Court for Alex Renzi. What is the name of the prosecutor, Sandra Doorley? In my last appearance, when I was told I'm finished and done, which is not true, there were two females standing behind me. I do not know if they're court employees or they had to be in New York State Supreme Court because I was there as a defendant, where he said to me I was finished and done. Former employee of the district attorney's office, and I'm concerned about him because he's a prosecutor's judge because he worked at the district attorney's office. Do you know, Alex Renzi, did you see the photographs of the Magistrates Association that met in Monroe County and how liquored up he was? I said to Alex Renzi in New York State Supreme Court, are you an alcoholic, Alex? Because of the way he looked in these photographs. And I don't know if he is or is not. I'm trying to enrage him when I go in there because I don't conform to the usual behavior of a defendant in a courtroom. Do you know what I'm talking about? About photographs of him at that event. Because it is alarming the way he looked at that event. Speaking of alarming is a $28,000 bald-headed, skin-headed widow who operates without a jury of 12, without a table for a defense attorney, without a table for a prosecutor, without a witness box for witness testimony. He thinks she's in a courtroom. A list of defendants in Pembroke Town Court before Paul C. Metzler. Freedom of Information Law. A list of defendants in Pembroke Town Court for James Milley Jr. A list of defendants in Pembroke Town Court for John P. Lomenzo Jr. A list of defendants in New York State Supreme Court for Alex Renzi and his $208,000 salary. This is John P. Lomenzo Jr. and Daniel Glaus III. Freedom of Information Law. The quote defective documents end quote cited by John P. Lomenzo Jr. in the Democrat Chronicle newspaper about the case of Daniel Glaus III, where he released him because he has a relationship with the family. This is travel, which I begin to read now. I think this is the fourth or fifth time I've read it. The cost of taxpayers for all travel out of Monroe County, New York State by employees to Monroe County Sheriff's Office, Todd K. Baxter, which will include you at Watkins Glen, Todd Baxter, and Ryan Fisher, Atlanta, Georgia, and where else are you sending employees? The cost of taxpayers for all travel out of Monroe County, New York State by employees to Monroe County District Attorneys District Attorney Sandra Doorley. And this will include the District Attorneys Association State of New York Summer Conference. Where was that held, Sandra Doorley? Cost of taxpayers for all travel out of Monroe County, New York State by employees of Pembroke Town Court, Paul C. Metz, James C. Milley Jr., and John P. Lomenzo Jr. The cost of taxpayers for all travel out of Monroe County, New York State by New York State Supreme Court Judge Alex Renzi. The cost of the trip to Watkins Glen, New York by Sheriff Todd K. Baxter. Did the Monroe County Sheriff's Office spend taxpayer dollars for? 1, a hotel, 2 gas miles, 3 per diem. The total number of employees that escorted Sheriff Todd K. Baxter to his trip to Watkins Glen. The cost of taxpayers of Monroe County District Attorney Sandra Doorley attended in Saratoga Springs, New York, the District Attorneys Association of the State of New York Summer Conference. I did not see you on the website, photographs of you, but did you go? And the undersheriffs had an event in Saratoga. The cost of taxpayers, Saratoga Springs, New York, if Sheriff Todd K. Baxter approved the expenditure of tax dollars to attend undersheriff's training conference at the Gideon Putnam Hotel in Saratoga Springs, New York. I've been to the track 100 plus times. It could possibly even be 200 plus times. I don't even know how often I've been to the track. It's been so often. But I lived in the city of Albany, in the town of Guilderland, in Albany County. And I would go to the meet, which used to be 6 weeks. I believe it's now 8 weeks, because I live right there, near it. You're going to Saratoga, New York from Monroe County? Such a joke. This is here. I sent from my Proton Mail account, Chris.Chichester7 at Proton Mail. YouTube Corruptible, Sheriff Todd K. Baxter, District Attorney Sandra Doorley, Alex Renzi. So I think about 80% of what I read you already received in this email where I attached it in PDF. Where YouTube Corruptible, YouTube Delusion and Dial, YouTube Zero. I called it Zero because you're going to comply with zero. And the total number you're going to apply with here, which is 44, is 0. So over and over and over, I'm demanding this either by the United States Postal Service, which you're going to get this in the next 7 days. I'll use registered mail return receipt to communicate with you. You're going to get it again using UPS, United Parcel Service. I'm going to demand new information. And I held this up the other day, the last time I went. This is December 8th. This is $58.86. This was on December 6th. The reason why it's less money is demanding new information. This is $35.42. Patrick's playing over and over. I have receipts. My illegal eviction by my psychopath father-son landlords. I had to get my birth certificate because I own nothing. And I no longer have a relationship with my mother and father because of everything that's happened to me. Because they just failed to understand that I'm an innocent man. You've been arrested 6 times. What are you doing with your life? You destroyed my relationship with my mother and father. One of the last times I spoke to my mother, I told her about harassment second, where I'm violently attacked by Jermaine Benman. I'm sitting in the back seat of Andrew Reality's Monroe County Sheriff's Office vehicle. And Reality told Benman 7 words to say to me, I want to press charges against you. I'm sitting in the back seat of the vehicle. That's what Benman says to me. I'm charged with harassment second. I was in Monroe County Jail. So when I got out, I was talking to my mother on the phone because they did not know where I was. Where'd I go from Monroe County Jail, Todd Baxter? Because I'm going to talk about you in the Health Insurance Privacy Protection Act of 1996, passed by my former employers, United States Senate, United States House of Representatives, and how you gave my health care records to Paul C. Metz on Pemberton Town Court. Think about the best lie. So I'm telling my mother about harassment second and criminal contempt second. When I haven't committed either one of those crimes, I'm telling them about $79,000. Andrew Allen, $67,000. Shannon Meyer. My mother is saying to me, as I'm telling the facts and circumstances, she's using my full name the whole time, which I don't go by my full name. And I'm only called by my full name a few times in my life. This was an agonizing phone call that I had to withstand from my concerned mother, which she's using my full name over and over and over. Christopher, what are you talking about harassment second when you sit in the back seat of the vehicle? And what are you talking about criminal contempt second? You just told a man on his tractor that nobody owns the land next to where you live in Penfield? What are you talking about, Christopher? Over and over and over. A time where I had to keep it together. You think an arrest just affects that person that you arrest, Todd Baxter? Because it doesn't. Because see, it affects the people closest to that person. I'm hearing my mother's name, say my name, pardon me, over and over and over when I have to tell her about the things that happened to me. Motivates me to be right here. You destroy my relationship with my mother and father. I'm not going to go into detail because some things should always be kept private, so I'll just keep it at that. And this began with $67,000 Shannon Meyer and $79,000 Andrew Reali. It began the destruction of my life. And I'm here in this violent city of Rochester, New York. This is called a fob, where I have to use this To get into my building, I have to use this to get onto the elevator. You cannot get onto the elevator and get up to the 5th floor where I am unless you have this fob, and I have to use this to get in here. In the places I've lived in Washington, D.C., I would just go into my apartment. I live right next to the Capitol in Washington, D.C., and my second address was on Constitution Avenue. I'd walk about 10 minutes to the Capitol. I didn't have a fob. I wasn't hunkered down thinking about violence in what is perhaps the most violent city in all of the United States of America, Washington, but not near the Capitol. There was violence raining down on Rochester, and Buckingham Properties, which is the management company that owns this building and operates it, has this fob and gives it to tenants like me because they're concerned about the violence in downtown Rochester and in the city of Rochester, where they want their tenants to be safe. That's why I have this. And Rochester, New York is a violent city where I have to use this fob, 1, to get into my building, 2, to get on the elevator, and 3, to get into where I live. Because you're not doing a goddamn thing about violence raining down in Rochester, New York. Todd, Baxter, and Sandra Doorley. So, what I just read, send it to this UPS box, which is 620 Park Avenue, PMB number 361, Rochester, New York 14604. What I'm going to find when I go there, there's going to be documentation in there where you're demanding and compelling me to be in court, where you're going to concoct another fiction, another lie for me, where you can get me in front of one corrupt judge like Alex Renzi, Paul C. Metzer, or John P. Menzer Jr. to declare me guilty where I'm in jail, and again, not told how long I'm going to be in jail. It's exactly what you're going to do. How is this explained to the United States Department of Justice when I send them the transcript to this YouTube? When I send Attorney General Merrick Garland directly this transcript and the employees at the Department of Justice, that you're refusing to disclose even the names of my prosecutors of silence? My name is Christopher Chichester. I'm an innocent man.